look at this amazing scenery, but can you mix a family holiday with landscape photography? And there's definitely a few challenges. This is the first photo of this holiday. We've got some rocks in the foreground, some little snow-topped mountains, and I'm using these rocks to anchor the foreground a little bit. We've got a polarizer just to cut down a bit of glare on the water, and also a 10-stop ND filter, and I'll put links to these filters in the description. So when you're on holiday with your family, you have to take any opportunity you can. Just came scrambling down all these rocks because there was amazing light hitting the top of these mountains, beautiful reflections. It's all gone now. And in those cases, aperture priority and bracketing is your friend, absolutely, because you just like literally have zero setup time. My tripod was all wonky. Even this video is completely all over the place. But this is the second photo location of the trip, and if I'm super lucky and the photo gods bear with me, hopefully we'll be back at this spot tomorrow morning.
You said I would never see you again. Maybe I would hold you then a little bit longer.
Good morning. Very cold, foggy, damp morning. Technically, I think it's almost freezing, but could be something really beautiful. After the rush of last night, I managed to get away on my own early to try and have a little bit of calmful, relaxing landscape photography. And on a family holiday, you need to take every little possible opportunity you can get when you can get it. So even though it's freezing, and even though there's not much chance of a sunrise this morning, not much to look at the minute, but there is a little bit of the side of the lake shore just popping out into the fog. So I'm going to start off, I think, with trying to get a nice, minimalist, calm, serene shot. So because I'm traveling pretty light when it comes to the photography gear, my main lens on this trip is a 16 to 35mm lens. It's actually a Canon lens adapted to Sony, so I don't have a lot of reach in terms of zoom or telephotoness, if that's even a word. That's why I'm going to have to probably get much closer to the lake than I would need to do if I had a longer zoom. I've left this little tiny stone in the corner of the image, and this might actually work quite nicely, whoa, a bit close there, with a panoramic crop. I'm not sure. I think when it comes to landscape photography on a family holiday, there's a few different challenges really, and I think it probably boils down to two things: time and energy. Unfortunately, the time when photography is at its best, as you probably already know, is around sunrise and sunset, golden hour. But when you're on a family holiday, it's often those times that are taken up with breakfasts and dinners and maybe activities, or depending on how many kids you might have, putting kids to bed, or brushing teeth and asking them 10,000 million times to brush their teeth and get them to bed. And so the best times for photography are often the times that are taken up with those family duties, and that's fine because it is a family holiday after all and not a photography trip. And I guess that kind of leads into the second thing, which is energy. When you're on a family holiday, there's a lot going on. You're driving between places, you've got groceries to do, you've got dinners to arrange, you've got things to book, you've got kids to take care of in so many different ways in terms of, oh, oh dear, they've just accidentally dropped all their clothes in the lake, let's go and do laundry for an hour, or whatever it might be. And all of that takes a lot of energy. So finding the time and the energy to actually do some landscape photography is the second biggest challenge. But I think there's lots of little challenges too. So I'm currently at Lake Tekapo in New Zealand South Island, and we're having dinner as a family, and the light was absolutely stunning. I can't describe it any other way. But of course, we're right in the middle of dinner. My camera gear and everything is back in the camper van, and it's really hard to just switch off that photographer's eye, I suppose you could call it, and ignore that light. And I just couldn't do it. So I just ended up carving out 10 minutes to run down to the lakeside and capture the last of that light, and that was last night. But ideally I could have spent 3 hours with that light changing. It was absolutely stunning, and I need to learn to let go of that frustration. I need to accept that I'm going to miss some beautiful shots when I'm on a family holiday, and not let it ruin the family holiday, because that's the emphasis. And I suppose that's the takeaway, is know what the primary mission is, family, and sometimes occasional side quests into photography. I'm going to take a little walk up the lakeside here just to see if we can get any more interesting foreground. There's a lot of kind of scum at the water's edge here, and it sounds delightful, but I just don't know if it's bits of trees and leaves or whether it's something scummier. But it just ends up here, so I think we might find a bit of a cleaner foreground to use. Lots of beautiful texture in these stones. Now, I'm not sure if I'm grasping at straws here or rocks. Just got this little bit of rock in the foreground, and as you can see, not much else on the lake. So we're going super minimalist here. All right, let's get the shot and see what it looks like. I suppose there's another thing, and that's the idea of like flow or focus. And it's really hard sometimes to get into the flow or focus on the photography, whether that's technically not making mistakes with exposure or focus, or the artistic side of things, where you get into that state of flow where you kind of just exist with the landscape in your camera, and all the other thoughts go out of your head, and you're just present in that moment. And I think that's one of the things I love about landscape photography, is as someone who's a bit of a thinker, some would say overthinker, it really does let you just be present in nature. Sneaking another shot in while the rest of the family is busy. Just come down to the lakeside where I was this morning, just a little bit further around. So I've thrown on my do-it-yourself Hasselblad X-Pan hack. I've got an entire video on how to determine the dimensions and how to basically work this out for whatever camera you own, so I'll put a link to that in the description. But I quite like the way that the panoramic aspect ratio is limiting the scene. It's getting rid of all of this kind of messy stuff up here, and there's not a huge amount going on in the sky there either. And I don't have time to go too far up there, but this little bit of sweep of gravel and water just kind of caught my eye. I think I have time to squeeze in one more shot. Again, this is panoramic, and this is pretty minimalist. And yes, the camera is actually level. It's just the perspective that we've got here. And I just was attracted to the reflections of the clouds in the water here. I just think that's a very delicate image. Welcome to Queenstown, managing to get away for another few minutes of stolen photography on the shore of this beautiful lake here. Weather's like raining, and so I'm having to constantly clean the lens and then take the picture, and then clean the lens and take the picture. So I'm just experimenting with some different compositions at the minute. I'll put the first one on screen now. Well, I don't know why, but I just felt in my brain that this needed a panoramic image, so I threw on my panoramic X-Pan hack viewfinder just to see if I could feel my way around the scene in a panoramic fashion, if that makes any sense at all. Anyway, here's what I came up with. So this scene is absolutely crying out for some long exposure ND filter goodness, but there's too much wind, I think, and there's constant drip, drip, drizzle of rain, so it's going to be really difficult to get a long exposure going at this location because it's just going to get covered with water, the front filter, and there's an aeroplane. So, can you mix a family holiday with landscape photography, and is that the right question to ask? With a flexible mindset and the realization that you will miss some great shots, yes, it's possible. But the more important question is, should you? I found that I was less present on the holiday and that I missed out on some precious moments because I was either thinking about photography or actually doing it. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on family holiday photography and which photo you like the best. And until next time, I wish you happy landscapes.